本当？見えないでしょ？どこにいるのかな？見えないよ。What's good, Internet? It's Friday, August 13th, and you're listening to Waypoint Radio, episode 336. I'm your host, Austin Walker. I'm joined today by Patrick Klepek.
Hello.
Rob Zachney.
Good morning.
And Ricardo Contreras.
Hi.
How's everyone doing? It's rainy here. It's like very rainy, and there was loud thunder a moment ago.
Like a fun rain, or we had actually like straight up tornadoes rip through parts of Chicago a couple days back.
Well, more fun than that is what I would say. My rain here is not that. I don't feel scared for my life.
My family took a couple days off, and as we were headed back to the house, I got text from like my brother, and he was like, "Hey, I hope you're not driving in that storm." I'm like, "What do you like? What like all good here? Like no storm."
Beginning of a horror movie.
It's like, what are you talking about? I was like, you should be caught in that storm. And then like my wife and I look behind, like look in the rearview mirror, and it's just, I mean, just pitch black. Like, and in certain parts of it, colors that if you're from the Midwest where you have to deal with like potential tornadoes, like there are sometimes you just look at a storm and it's just like, that's just not how a storm's supposed to look. Like, I know that's bad. And I don't know scientifically what you call that, but I know that is abnormal. And we were basically neck and neck with the storm the whole way. It was like maybe a little behind us. So we happened to be moving in the direction the storm was moving. So we were able to stay ahead of it, because otherwise we were probably actually going to have to literally pull over and like, stay somewhere for half an hour until it like the worst of it passed by. And we literally, as our garage door was opening, like rain hits, there's no time to like even take anything out of the car, because like whole branches are getting blown into the garage it was like the closest to when I watch like a weather report for a hurricane with a reporter, sitting out in the water, proving how fucking brave they are by standing in the middle of a hurricane. And we were not in the house more than 5 minutes before the power went out. And then the power goes out, and we're calming the kids down. Then all of a sudden the tornado sirens go off. That goes away. And then I'm walking around the house checking on things, power's out, and I just hear like this pulse, like, and I can't tell where it's kind of, like, it's weird, like, but I can feel it in my, like, like my feet are going, maybe every,
this is
like,
now
it's
a horror
inconsistent
movie.
though. Like I'm sitting there counting it, going like 1, 2, trying to figure out if there's like some sort of pattern.
Creepypasta?
Yeah, I think you stumbled into a creepypasta. I'm a little nervous.
And
this is an
my
SCP
thought was,
entry.
so the power went out. It kind of felt like, what are the things in the house that could even like make, like that could vibrate at that frequency? Like maybe somehow like the AC, like, the giant fan outside is trying to go on. Like that doesn't make any sense. Our power's out. So I'm going around the house, opening windows. Like I go onto my deck and I could feel the deck go.
That's how they get you. The monster's on the deck.
And then all of a sudden, I went on like one of the like local Facebook groups, and it was solved for me when I realized that literally 3 houses down, the wind had taken down part of a power line, and there was a live wire just flailing about in front of somebody's yard. I will send you photos.
I don't want that.
The pod. And I didn't get a chance. They quickly like had people over there, and were like, it was still raining, so they were blocking people from going anywhere near it. But that was why it was infrequent, was because it was just a live wire just going, just and the sheer power of it. Yeah, I mean we're it's still 3 houses down at a diagonal, so it's got some distance, but I could feel it impacting the ground by the sheer power of it, and like a whole like giant spot of their yard. I walked past it yesterday. It's as though someone took a blowtorch to it.
Holy shit! Well, I'm glad
everyone's okay though.
Yeah, I'm glad everyone's okay.
And the one thing I'll say is everything was okay. The family's okay. Neighborhood's okay. It put us up on the priority list for getting our power back. Like live wire. Gotta take care of that
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
Immediately.
Because there
Yeah.
are other people around here who aren't getting their power back till like today. Because it's like, you're just on a list somewhere that we randomly prioritize. Like live wires, hey, we got to take care of those people. So our power is back 3 hours later.
Jesus Christ. You're right,
was,
because if they don't, you will remember this.
I'm looking at. I remember I was seeing something the other day about Con Ed took a lot of money to improve the grid by burying power lines, so that shit like that doesn't happen, right? So you don't have like high capacity lines just like fucking garden hosing around people's front doors and shit. And unilaterally, like it seems like Con Ed took that money, which was like funded by taxpayers, and then decided, we're not going to bury the lines. What we're going to do is we're going to buy storm-resistant poles.
Shut the fuck up.
And so
Anti-wind technology in these poles, Rob.
Yeah.
Hey, ComEd just got busted by the feds and had to pay $250 million in bribery. I don't know, fees. I don't know how that's calculated. But
Wait.
they got caught bribing the Illinois legislature to pass a bill, and so they paid $250 million in.
To
almost
Illinois?
certainly
Wait.
what they got from that bill vastly
Well
more.
over two.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
It's like that
Yeah.
Ohio thing where like the nuclear power plants basically like installed the government of Ohio, and then Ohio gave them a $2 billion bailout on the back of elections that the power lobby basically bought for a few million. So yeah, I mean
That's a good
it's,
deal. That's
ROI,
wow.
baby.
yeah.
Jesus Christ. Buy a politician. They're cheap. Speaking
By
of
me,
rain.
I'm cheaper.
Yeah, but your vote only counts once. You know what I mean?
We can figure something out. Come on.
He's an influencer. Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, come on. I got some headphones in the mail that said influencer on them, please.
Fantastic. I hope they're treating you well. Speaking of rain, I'm just going to hit this really quick as I've only put a little bit of time into it, but Risk of Rain 2 hit 1.0 last night. It has been in early access, or not last night. I played it last night. It wasn't last night, and the devs are like, you know what? I think we got it. Someone flip the switch.
Wait, Austin logged on? Cool.
Also, that's a 1.0. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if any of you have played this or played the original Risk of Rain.
I played the original. That was I remember back at Giant Bomb. That was when I was trying to figure out how to still do quick looks while living in Chicago.
Sure.
And I think Alex and I did the quick look for Risk of Rain.
The original.
Yeah, the
it's
original 2D.
so interesting to see that game versus this game. Because, yeah, that game's a 2D kind of side-scrolly rogue-like action game where you're fighting
it was a student project that then became an actual thing. For people who haven't played Risk of Rain, like its whole, look, every game's a roguelike these days, but the gimmick with Risk of Rain, and which it carries over to Risk of Rain 2, is that the moment the game starts, there's essentially a timer counting down. So the enemies start as easy, but rather than traditionally in a game where you're like leveling up and then the enemies become harder as you level up so that there's a power balance, the more time you spend in a level, the more that meter goes from easy to medium to hard. So it's like the longer you're spending in the game to theoretically find to farm enemies for money, which then lets you find
relics,
chests,
invisible
which
ink
lets you
rules.
get
yes.
So the longer you spend in the game, the harder the enemies are going to get. The longer you spend in the game, the more powerful you could get in theory. So it creates like a really
And you don't want to
tension.
rush from level to level necessarily because there's a big jump when you get to a new level, at least in Risk of Rain 2. So you don't want to just run to the teleporter, activate the teleporter, fight the boss when they're still easy, because if you do that, you will not have spent enough time leveling up to handle the base level enemies in the next level when the difficulty jumps a little bit. And that stuff just works really well. Like you are constantly, sometimes I get into a mode that I call focused breathing. I am sure this is just a thing where it's just like a thing has me. And I don't know. I don't want to say it's like as far as like a flow state. I can keep aware of other things. I might have a podcast on. I might have something else, but it's like, Like, okay, I'm
Oh, you're
in
doing it. This is the
I'm doing it.
focused breathing.
Focused breathing. I'm focused breathing
Hopefully
right
that
now.
came up on the.
Have you seen
I don't know if
Demon
it's
Comes
good.
up on
Slayer yet,
Austin's
Austin?
recording
Yeah.
because it did not come up from.
You were just
Robin
doing
and I.
it. You were just doing a character
okay.
select animation.
I was-
where like from my perspective,
We'll see if it,
like you were just start
hits the
pulsating
audacity.
weirdly.
I literally,
shit.
before the podcast started, I did say I raised my noise gate for Discord, so of course you didn't hear it. Anyway, but you know, I'm like really just zeroed in that way. But at the same time, I'm having this like weird. So Risk of Rain 2 is 3D. That's one of the big changes, and it's like really, really beautiful, like open zones for each level. Basically, they're very vertical. There's you take some fall damage when you jump from a high place, but you can mitigate that with movement abilities. There's a bunch of different characters. I've only unlocked 2 characters so far. I like them both. They like both have really neat abilities. But this is a game where you're just swarmed in 3 dimensions by enemies by the end of like your second or third level, especially. And it is in the kind of Binding of Isaac roguelike mode where what you're doing is collecting these little relics that each have a passive bonus, right? So like, oh, this one says that when you kill an enemy, it drops a health orb. This one says that when you kill an enemy, you get a little bit of barrier energy. This one just gives you a missile launcher that randomly fires a missile every now and then.
I sent some questions to the developers yesterday, so I played it for like 20 minutes just to wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
And there was one that was that like you gain health back when you get away from danger. So
Right.
enemies can still be shooting at you, but basically if you're not like in the immediate vicinity of a fight, your health
Your
will
health is
start
going to come
spiking
back.
up.
And so some of that stuff is really, really passive, and some of it is, I mean, it's all of those things are passive. You're never going to pick up a thing, or I never picked up a thing. There's one category of thing that's like, and here's a special move you can do. One of them was like a black hole that like brings everyone together. One of them turned me into like an orb of fire that could fly and then blow up. But beyond that one slot, most of the relics that you're picking up, and you're getting dozens in a single run, are just passive things. And that means that you kind of see a playstyle emerge. The classic example of this that I can point to is something like, and this happens in a lot of games like this, you get a thing that says, when you kill enemies, you heal, but then you end up fighting a boss, and when you fight a boss, maybe there aren't as many enemies around, which means you can't rely on that fast heal anymore, because you can't just kill like little shitty guys to keep yourself topped up, and suddenly like, oh shit, this build is not built for a one-on-one fight, it's built for a 1-on-100 fight, and 100 dudes can't touch me. It's like 100 3-foot tall enemies can't touch me, but one 300-foot tall enemy beats the shit out of me. So if you enjoy that style of character build and like, oh, what sort of stuff am I going to get this run? It does that super, super, super well. I will say that on my good runs, the game ends up feeling a little, I mean, one, it's very chaotic, but it's a sort of removed chaos. Like I think a lot about something like Bangai-O, which is like a fantastic Dreamcast game that also came to the DS at a certain point.
And
where
I believe it was a N64 version.
Oh, there was an
too.
N64
Like
version. You're
different
totally
games.
right. Yes. But the whole thing there is like a billion projectiles are coming at you, and at the high level, you are like dodging between them and countering them and like blowing them back to your enemies, or you think it's just like a high level action game like Bayonetta or something. It's very similar to like someone on the outside looking in is like, this is nonsense. The thing that's happened, nothing is happening.
Go look at a screenshot of Risk of Rain 2 that is past the first level and be like, people aren't playing this. Like you can't. No, this is drama for this screenshot.
Exactly. No, by the end of my first run, which I think I got like 4 or 5 levels in, it's just nonsense on the screen constantly, and your health bar is just like, again, because the build I had was like zoop down, zoop back up, down up, down up. And I was like, I'm not really in control. I'm almost making more strategic decisions than tactical the moment to moment tactical ones, which is not what you think of with a action game and action roguelike.
Like other than
it's
like
impossible
when
to
you're
keep up.
fighting a boss where you have like so much health that you thus need to focus your efforts singularly on something. But my guess would be, based on when I played Risk of Rain 1, which I played that more than I've played 2, eventually that scales, like where you're just like, you need the other things in your life to do things for you while you just focus on moving and staying alive.
Totally.
Actually,
I'm gonna let my damage over time work. I'm gonna let my
It's tower defense-y, but like there's actually a lot of tower defense in Risk of Rain in terms of how you are actually thinking about setting things up, because it's more about what are things going to do for me rather than you, the avatar, being the thing that is like at the center of the action at all times.
Totally. I mean, but by the end of my run last night, I had like 3 floating turrets plus 2 turrets on the ground plus a turret that healed me, or like a floating drone that healed me. A bunch of that stuff was like, I just need that stuff to work. I just need that stuff to work while my passives fire off. And that's really that was really enjoyable in some spots, but I will say what it does is it makes there's like a flat texture to the game in a weird way. Because like you have your 4 actions. For the first character that you get, it's like dodge out the way, shoot your guns, really shoot your guns and like stun an enemy, or do a big laser blast that pierces. For the second character, she has like a lock-on attack. There's like a cool lock-on laser like arrow that is very cool. A kind of jump in the air, death from above, a bunch of rain arrows, or like a rain of arrows comes down. And then I think like a blink forward, and then a cool like glaive that you can throw that bounces between enemies. And that's like, okay, those are cool abilities, but by the end of any given run, most of what's happening is stuff that you're not telling it to do. Do you know what I mean? It's just like the stuff is happening, and that means what you're doing second to second in the first chapter of the game, what's happening in the final chapter of a run is the same thing, and that's not bad necessarily. Like you can totally build a game around that. I'm still enjoying it. I want to unlock more characters and I want to beat the game, and like I'm having a good time with it. But I do find myself wishing that there was a little more. There was a little more difference in moment to moment gameplay by the end of a run. I would contrast it almost with what I think is maybe the big development of Rogue Legacy 2, which is coming out of early access soon, and we can talk about now. Which is that Rogue Legacy 2 has characters, classes now that have different ways of attacking and stuff.
I couldn't remember if the first one did or didn't.
I had to look it up.
I played like 90 minutes of it last night, and I was like, did it? I can't remember if it had other. I know I swung that big sword, and
I swung that big sword a billion times.
I wasn't sure if the original had, if it was all just you were just scaling health and attack and defense on a singular build, or if you were.
I should be clear. Rogue Legacy 2 is also a class-based thing where your character just has the one basic thing that they do, but bouncing between them, I was bouncing between them way more often because I'm way worse at Rogue Legacy 2 than I am at.
Well, but that's also the arc of Rogue Legacy 1 is that the opening hours are way more about like feeling out the world and just speccing up your health and defense so that you can even imagine a space in which you are exploring further or fighting a boss or doing anything meaningful. Like it's a thing that I didn't care for in Rogue Legacy 1, even though I understood why the arc of it early was that, and don't really care for it in Rogue Legacy 2 either. That said, it's like slightly mitigated by like the really different mechanics that the classes have. Like they function just completely differently in ways where how you approach a room is going to be fundamentally different when you have a sword that you're hitting a foot in front of you versus an archer who can arc and throw things from across the room versus a mage who can't actually hit in front of them but has a circle in front of them where the attack is going to appear. So instead you're constantly attacking enemies that are 6 feet away or whatever the case may be.
I think that will like go through a wall, for instance, which
it will go through a wall. Like I haven't played with it enough to like figure out all the
barbarian is my favorite. The barbarian is like, it feels like not easy mode but does feel like the character to pick if you're just getting your feet, because they have a huge axe swing, and when they jump and do an attack, they do a sonic spin dash, but with an axe, and that just beats the shit out of everybody. I guess it's not a sonic spin dash because you don't bounce off of someone when you do it, but it's just like a huge AoE as you jump around, and it's just like, this character feels like in control at all times.
I guess we should set up with Rogue Legacy 2. It's been like 2013 is long enough that someone probably didn't play Rogue Legacy.
Yeah, fair.
Rogue Legacy was like an early, because they like sort of like put their arms around like the roguelite sort of moniker. The idea being that in the popular consciousness, roguelike became, you do a run and then you start over. We wipe the slate clean, and Rogue Legacy was amongst the sort of like swath of games that were finding different ways into that idea, and Rogue Legacy helped popularize the notion of, actually, there are different sort of like passive skills that you are upgrading so that future runs you have more health or access to a different power set, or you can find blueprints that give you a piece of armor that's going to mitigate a certain type of damage or just bring your overall damage up. So basically you are leveling up even though every run is starting from the beginning of that castle, like the arc of going from the beginning to the end of the game is the same. I mean, the world is randomized, but you're becoming the base character is becoming more powerful over time as you go back with the currency that you've picked up from in the game. And so, and then part of that is that when you die, you're not just going back and like, hey, here's that character, go beef up their health again. There are, at the end, you get to choose your heir, and there's like the game like rolls 3 different heirs that you can pick from. I can't remember how many it was in the first game, but in 2 it's 3. And they have sort of like randomized characteristics that are about like their abilities, right? So like even though you may get a barbarian, maybe that barbarian has a freeze skill instead of a fire skill or something like that. But the real differentiator, like the part that Rogue Legacy hung its hat on, was the sort of like personalized characteristics that really fundamentally change how the game plays and are often have positive or negative connotation. So instead of it being like a different fire or ice skill, it's like a jokey one is like the game has a nostalgic sepia tone that is like all over the screen. This character can't see very far, and so actually like the whole world is dark except for like the little light that's around them. Or you get access to everything on the map, like you can see the whole map filled out, but the game is not going to tell you where you are on that map, so you need to figure that out yourself. And so there are all these little different characteristics that are sort of randomized, and then you can pick and choose which ones that you think are advantageous or not. Like often there'll be one that has a negative connotation, but you earn like 2x gold or something like that.
By way of you did get these upgrades presumably on your castle. They're like fake socialized medicine upgrades.
Yeah,
that's this game has a sense of humor that I don't know always hits. So like when I
it's
first
in line with the original game, though.
It totally is. Well, and I mean, actually, one of the things that I think was interesting for me playing this game last night was like playing a character who has chronic fatigue syndrome in a game where what that means is all of your abilities are on cooldown and you're just like a terrible character to play as because it means you have to wait like 8 seconds to do your basic attack again. Hits different in 2020 than maybe it did in 2013.
Yeah, I haven't gotten enough of them, but like, yeah, there are certain ones where it's like in the first game, looking back on it, it's like, all right, so you're playing for laughs, like somebody's like real life, issues.
And it's like, it's one thing when it's like, you're gassy and it's just your character like is running around farting. But it's another thing when it's like, you're bad at this, huh? You can't do this. And guess what? We'll give you a little bonus. You'll get a little disability check at the end of the run, basically. And I say that like as a joke, but not really, because literally the upgrade that gives you that money is healthcare. Is literally your kingdom has decided to tax the rich to care for the poor. A contentious decision for sure, but let's see how it pans out. And that's from something called Universal Health Stare. I don't know why. That's the game it is, and I don't know if that stuff lands for me super well. The stuff that works for me is the class differentiation, and then the little set like challenge areas. I don't know if you've got to any of those yet.
I got to one of those where like warp to an area where there's riddles basically.
Yeah.
But what is the
end of
setup
that
is like you'll come across like a giant statue, and they're like, hey, you want to warp away to some other section? And I was like, yeah, sure.
I guess
and
so.
Then like one of the setups was like I fell down, and on both sides of me there was there didn't appear to be a path forward, and then there was a riddle that was basically like the solution to it was like, oh, there's actually a hidden path beneath the floor, and if you use like the drop down where you can like drop beneath a section, you'll go into the hidden pathway. And so what do you get at the end?
So at the end what you get is the ability to do 2 things, I think, of that one. One is interact with these things that show up in that little dungeony area or that little puzzle area, which make it so that they're like traps that will fire fireballs at you if you do anything aggressive inside of them. But if you run up to them and hit RB, you can turn those off. So you get the ability to turn those off. And the second thing is you get to read those memory things that give you the tips. And those are spread throughout the dungeon as just story beats. Or maybe they might even give you quests. Like once I finished that, I was able to see like those same sort of spirit guide, like whatever that icon was, go talk to those, and those can give you little story drips. Or like, I think maybe one or two of them gave me like a similar sort of like objective as that. The second one, let me be clear, the second one of those little puzzle areas is a dash and an air dash, much more applicable all the time. You need it to get into the first boss zone. And so it's like a little puzzle zone of like, here, learn how to dash. And that stuff I like, partially just because it's designed, and I guess I'll say most of the rooms I've played through in Rogue Legacy 2 feel good, but it's still nice to have a drop of stuff that's like, like this is a designed 8-room section that's testing me on this ability, and that works well for me too. But
it's also gorgeous.
It is also it is also a very good looking game.
Like the Rogue Legacy ones art like didn't do a lot. Like it was fine. It was but this game is like just drop dead. Like it's a very, very pretty.
There's like good 2D animation, like very cartoonish. Lots of good little animations. As your characters fall over or do whatever. I will say it was hard. It's kind of tough to play it post Dead Cells, because Dead Cells is so fun to play moment to moment, and a little bit more on the Castlevania like side of things for me versus the action platformer. Like Rogue Legacy is clearly building off of Castlevania, but sometimes feels more like a Mega Man or something where it's very platformer focused in a way that like Dead Cells isn't. And
also the Dead Cells part. Dead Cells is brilliant for a billion different reasons. There's a reason it's one of my favorite games from a couple of years back, but also it mechanically, like the action game part of it is so good.
Yep.
It is so precise, and so when you died, you always could point the finger back at yourself and you're like, yeah. Motherfucker.
There were times when I die in Rogue Legacy where I'm like, what could have I fucking done here? Whereas every time I died in Dead Cells, it was like, I could have done this, or this. I forgot that I had this ability. I wish I had this. I forgot I had this. I could have used an item, whatever. Yeah,
and it also, like, it has deliberately, this was the first game as well, it has a very floaty feel, which doesn't mean that it can't also be precise, but there's a reason I banged the table over a game like Little Big Planet, which is like, this is a great game with shitty physics. Like, I just never could get past the floaty nature of that game, because I found that to betray the ability to be precise in a way that I like demand or like out of my platformers. And I was able to get over that in Rogue Legacy. Like, I was able to just get into the mode of, okay, this is what it is. I found that at least up front harder with Rogue Legacy 2 after, like you said, a Dead Cells, where, it doesn't have to be this float. Like it could. I think like this game, everything they've got set up. I like the progression arc. I liked it in Rogue Legacy. I will like it in this one as well. But just like the floatiness, I can accommodate to it. But there was like a sequence where like some of the best like blueprint upgrades or even like in run upgrades you're gonna find are gonna be sequences where you have to like fall down a set of spikes and you're trying to narrowly guide your character through it. And I screwed it up because that didn't feel good. Like on moving the analog stick, like I don't like. Sure, could I learn how to do this better? Yes. Do I still feel like I want to blame the game a little bit more by having imprecise or floaty physics? Like yes.
Also yes.
So
yeah, I think that's going to be a tough hill to climb for this game. This game's in early access, which I did not even realize. This is me just not reading the email, right? But until I got to the end of the first zone, and I was like, listen, video games are weird. The next zone is called the bridge. The bridge isn't done. You can't go to the bridge. What you can do is go to the area after the bridge, which is done. You don't make these things front to back.
That's just where the chorus repeats, so it makes sense. Like,
God damn it. God, I just want to get taken to the bridge, Rob. No one will take me to the bridge anymore. And so
is
yeah,
that
you can,
not a Springsteen song? It feels like a Springsteen song.
God, take me to the that's. We're gonna move on. I'm not gonna go down this road. The end result for me is like I like it, but for what it's trying to do, which is action RPG roguelike, I want a little more RPG. I want a little more like. Now I'm thinking about Dead Cells, the fact of like getting new weapons in during play is like such a big part of it, and maybe that'll end up being a thing. Like I'm watching the trailer, and there are definitely characters using weapons I have not seen at all, and maybe that's just because their class I haven't unlocked their classes yet. But you know, changing my spells or something, some other thing in which I'm leveling up per run could be fun. Though also, I guess the whole Rogue Legacy thing is investing in your infrastructure in between runs and getting better armor in between runs and stuff. So I don't know. I'm. It's interesting that they put this out. I think Full Metal Fury is their last game, just completely missed an audience. Like not enough people.
We tried. We did like a
try.
stream. I wanted to like it so bad
Me
because
too.
I quite liked Rogue Legacy.
Yeah.
And so I was interested to see that them try something different as opposed
Totally.
to just doing
I was
Rogue
happy
Legacy
that
2.
they did something new. But at the same time, this seems like this is, if you were a big Rogue Legacy fan, they're giving you the thing that you've been wanting. So, this is like a not for me recommendation. Maybe this is a like, I think I may put another couple nights into it, but I know I'm probably not going to follow it all the way through early access. Maybe if people tell me that it's fantastic at the end of early access.
I'm going to come back at 1.0, and also like I know I've got Spunkly 2 on the horizon, so I just don't need
another.
As I'm balancing out
moment.
like I don't need to be climbing the skill arc of two sort of like roguelike games at the same time when I know I've got the big boy on the horizon. So
the biggest of big boys.
Myself.
Speaking of,
he's a small boy, really. But
so he is kind of but he's a dad now, so that makes him.
Does that make you a big boy?
If you're a good dad,
I'm
you're
the
a big
biggest
boy
of boys?
now. Yeah, that's what I
right.
think. Speaking of big boys, Rob, I looked at your Troy, your Total War Saga. Troy, is that right? Total War.
A Total War Saga. Troy. It's terrible. It's terrible.
That's terrible.
Yes, because obviously Troy, a Total War Saga, does work. That makes some sense. But this takes us back to what Total War got away from, which used to be where they would put the subject and then say Total War. So medieval Total War, Shogun Total War.
Was Star Wars a Star Wars story, Rogue One or Solo? Or was it Solo, a Star Wars story?
The latter.
Okay.
But yeah, because video games are absurd about branding, which is why they put like trademark icons in their title splash screens, we ended up with a Total War Saga, Troy, which turns out to be really good.
Okay. Last time we talked about it, you were not super convinced. Your like preview content was very skeptical.
Yeah, so I'm of a few different minds about this game. Like if you're asking for synthesis, it's not fully there yet, I think. I think that reflects the game, though. So last time we talked about it, all I'd played was a battle, right?
Right.
And I would say that is probably the least interesting aspect of this game. It's just it's Total War battles. Like we've seen it. The big change here is that cavalry really isn't a thing, but that's not as dramatic a change as you might think, because basically their solution to this is, I think we talked about this in the last pod where we discussed this game. What if there were some dudes who just ran really fast? And that's kind of how the whole game feels, is like heavily armored dudes just crawl across the map, and then everything is about like lighter units move faster and faster, and the battles take place pretty quickly as it is. It's if I had a knock against this game, it's doing on the battlefield, it's doing that thing that Rome 2 did a lot, where formations and facing matters a great deal. So if units get flanked, they're in deep trouble. But the way the units move in battle gets so messy and chaotic that visually, like when a unit is flanked and getting flanking penalty versus not, makes zero sense to me whatsoever.
Gotcha.
There are times where like units are clearly like fighting with the front of the formation against an enemy unit, and somehow they are getting the flanked warning signal, and it just doesn't make any sense. So the battles are a little bit frustrating on that score. If you're looking for sort of managing the maneuvers of your armies. It kind of is a game where like everyone's just kind of running at each other, and then you are really quickly clicking to rush units into wherever they're needed, and try to like grab brief flanking bonuses where the opportunity arises. Beyond that, it's a pretty good game about the Trojan War, which has never struck me as particularly fruitful territory for a strategy game. Troy Goodfellow over on Three Moves Ahead has talked about this before, where he's always felt that actually there's probably a lot of room in the Bronze Age for people to do cool things, because we don't know that much. So there's actually a lot of room for interpretation of sketchy historical evidence. And that is kind of the approach that this game has taken. It's kind of splitting the difference between the Homeric myth and then just being a Bronze Age type strategy game. And the way that kind of manifests is if you read the Iliad, or the Odyssey for that matter, the thing that really hits home for you is, to the Greeks of this era, the world is huge, right? Like the Aegean is the ocean, and it is vast and wide, and like it totally is believable that it would take somebody years and years to return from the Trojan War just sailing across the Aegean, right? Because it's confusing, it's wide, and there's just a lot of dangers along the way. And ditto the Iliad, a lot of the action of that is the war has not been going well, and the Greek armies can't crack the walls of Troy, and so every year they like lay siege to the city, they fail, and then they go and start raiding up and down the Turkish coast, basically. And that is where the story opens, is yet again like they're kind of on their last legs as an expedition.
Right.
This game kind of gets at a lot of that. Like, this is the thing that really does impress me, is that where it starts telling its story is basically right after Paris abducts or seduces Helen and takes her away to Troy. And then you go through the steps of, if you're on the Greek side, starting to build the coalition to go take the fight to the Trojans, because nobody is strong enough to wage this war by themselves, and more importantly, nobody has the logistical chain to cross the ocean and carry on a war on the other side of the Aegean. And so if you're playing as Agamemnon, for instance, who probably has the most straightforward path to doing this, the first thing you have to do is start forging alliances with other Greek powers, and then bullying or conquering whoever's not getting with the program. And so you do become the complete like Achaean warlord, where you are basically like, yeah, the Greeks are unifying to go wage war on Troy, but really it is an alliance of people who are mostly being compelled by an enormous bully, right? And so you play that bully if you're playing like as Agamemnon, where the first third of the game is just beating the shit out of other Greeks and buying off whoever you can, so that you can start saying like, okay, I got this faction that inhabits islands in the central Aegean. They are now my ally, and I can sail my ships there and rest up there, because you take attrition if you're stuck out in deep water. But if you have like friendly territory you can sort of like land at safely, then you're fine. So just getting to Troy is tricky. And then once you get there, it's you're dealing with a really different faction. The Greeks are kind of raiders in a lot of ways, which again sort of tracks with what is subtext in the poem. They're dudes who roll up on long ships, get out and wreck some shit.
Right, versus the Trojans, who had like a very regimented military with like, I don't know, like top of the line gear sounds like a podcast ad. But I will say
Right. That is how every time, like, yes, it is partly because it's an oral tradition, and that has how the poem is recited, so it's got all of those, like, boilerplate, like, very rigid descriptors. But the thing that is notable about Hector is that he's armed to the fucking teeth, right? Like, in every scene, his helmet and armor is, like, gleaming, and it's, like, blinding, and everyone's like, and then Hector raised his head,
right,
his bronze sheathed. And so the notable thing about Hector is, like, guy's got some cool gear. Like, but that guy has a tactical vest.
Yeah. Well, you know, in the Trojan War, as in life, the difference between winning and losing is measured in milliseconds. And so I think we learned that from the Trojan War. Homer, I think, said it best. That was Achilles' main power, honestly, is his main quality separating him from the rest of mere mortals.
One of the walls of Ilium, if not the biggest battle station of them all. So as the Greeks, you go and you've been fighting with like a lot of light infantry, and then you encounter the Trojans, who are basically coming at you with stuff maybe traditionally we more associate with Greek style warfare. Like the Trojans look an awful lot like hoplites in some ways. Like they are coming out in massed formations, and they're just tough to crack. And so with the Greeks, it kind of feels like you run into there's a lot of Greeks, but in terms of army balance, the Trojans are worth a great deal more on just a man-to-man basis.
Right.
On the Trojan side, there's some cool things too. You've got a lot of attempting to build a coalition to ward off the arrival of the Greeks. If you play as Hector, for instance, the first thing that you do is you get in a kind of drag race for Priam's favor. The old king of Troy, who is one of the last figures in the poem, right? The end of the poem is him coming together with Achilles to have Hector's body restored to him. So the action of the opening of the Trojan campaign, if you're playing as Hector, for instance, is who is going to rule Troy? Who is Priam going to appoint as the ruler of Troy for this war? And it's down between you and Paris. And he gives you tasks, basically, who is going to do me the most honor, who is going to be the best ruler of Troy. Mm-hmm. And that involves doing stuff like being a good governor, but also expanding territory, helping each other out. And so before the Greeks show up, the Trojans have this interesting phase of basically trying to expand their strategic breastworks outward. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot of cool faction design stuff. Like, the Trojans, as they get allies, and their allies add territory, there is a buff that the Trojan factions get that is based on alliance-wide strength. So, the more territory the Trojan alliance holds, the more badass their armies become. They get movement bonuses, they get morale bonuses. And so, the idea is, like, Hector becomes kind of this rapid reaction force wherever the Greeks are sort of trying to break through the outer boundaries of the Trojan alliance. Hector shows up and fucks them up. But once the Greeks begin to nibble their way in, those alliance buffs start declining and you start getting into trouble. Like your army gets less capable. And so it's full of nifty shit like that. I really like a lot of the ideas in this game. I think my big knock against it is, I don't know, if you played Total War Warhammer or Rome 2, sometimes it just feels like there's just too much shit to do. The game is just throwing so many events at you.
What turned me off of this is like the thing that broke me on Warhammer, on Total War Warhammer, was just Warhammer Total War, whatever it was called. It was just like, am I an emperor or am I a bureaucrat? But like, what is, there's so many messages from so many other factions. There's so much upkeep turn to turn, and that's fine. I mean, that is like the genre does allow for that. Like that is one of the ways in which these games can be. But I remember just feeling so like buried under notices and buried under every when I say upkeep, it's not just like, oh yeah, I've paid my upkeep for the turn. It's like, all right, let me go over here to this town and make sure that it's working on the thing that it's supposed to be working on. Let me go over here and do that. And there are games in which I enjoy that work. I think that the Endless Legend is a game in which like, oh, I can't wait to check into my town because they make that experience very enjoyable. But there was something about in Total War Warhammer that's that upkeep phase just feeling like homework every single turn that it came around. There's a lot to like about that game despite that, but that was it's one of the hurdles I have with Total War games for sure.
And it's as bad as it's ever been in this game where like, I talk about Prime giving you missions. I missed a couple because I had my mind on other things where it's like, oh, Prime's really angry at you because you didn't build the Chieftain's Hall he asked you for. Paris would have built the Chieftain's Hall, but Hector didn't. And so like Paris gets favored and I don't. And it's like, yeah, I know, but that was part of a like message, like on the right hand of the interface, you get the list of incoming messages for the turn. And it's like, I'm sorry, there were 50 things that I had to check in on this turn, and by the time I got through it all, I forgot about the fucking Chieftain's Hall. I'm so sorry, Dad. And that is how it feels, by the way. Like Prime will just give you a text, like, haven't heard from you in a while. And then it's like, oh, I'm sorry. I was a little busy conquering Milos, but I guess I should have given you a call.
Listen. He loves you. He just wants you in his life. He just wants you to know that he's thinking of you. Maybe it's not this whole thing that you're building up to be in your own head.
Hector, I thought we'd raised you better. I don't understand why you're ignoring your brother and I.
Fuck.
Please call when you get a chance. Yeah. So
times being what they are, it's really important that, we try to stay close together. Things are really chaotic right now. I know you're busy, but think about what your priorities are.
Yeah, exactly. So that can be how the game feels at times where it's like, here are all these things being thrown at you, all these things you have to respond to. And it doesn't help that big world I described, it is big and there's a lot of things happening in it. And so there's a lot of like tracking down, okay, who are the Pelagians again? What do the Pelagians want? Were they good guys? Were they bad? I can't remember. Oh, they're neutral? Okay. Were they like friendly? I can't. They're dead? Okay. Who killed them? Do I like them? Do I like the person who killed them? And that is also a part of this game where it's like, if you watch the AI take its turn, the turn will take like 15 minutes to cycle back to you. If you hit skip all the action, like it'll move very quickly, but then you'll return to your turn. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, where did these guys come from? Right. What is happening? And it wouldn't be such a big issue. Like, I think I'd still be sitting here saying like, man, this is like the best Total War in ages. Like, this is really cool. The problem is Three Kingdoms came along and basically blew that shit away. Yeah. Where like, it has a couple things going for it. One is that it's basically built around iconic characters from the first, right? So you don't need to know like every single city name. What you do need to know is that like Liu Bei is up there and he's expanding. And like for a long time, you just have to remember like Liu Bei is kind of a prick, right? Like kind of a sanctimonious shithead. I don't like that guy. And that'll help you navigate the game. The other thing that Three Kingdoms I think is much better about is it's a little more generous about letting you automate battles where it's like, look, you'd win this. If you fought this battle out, you'd win pretty cleanly. So we're going to give you a pretty clean win if you auto-resolve it. Total War Troy is like, yeah, you've got a massive advantage in this battle. If you auto-resolve it, somehow the AI will have gotten like 3 of your units fully killed. And then everyone else will have taken significant casualties. So you really should have commanded that battle yourself. And so you end up fighting way more of those battles than you want because you just get punished for just trying to speed things along. And Three Kingdoms was really generous with that. Three Kingdoms like kind of streamlined down to big decisions and didn't bother you so much with like the daily administration. You'd send characters on tasks and they would be on those tasks for 10 turns, like getting bonuses, and you wouldn't have to think about it for a long time. this game reintroduces agents. So you have spies and priests and shit, and all of them need to be given a mission each turn if you're using them efficiently. And like, I just don't want to. I don't want to.
Yeah, pass. Well, your review is on the site. Lead History's worst raid group in a Total War Saga, Troy, up over on Vice.com, Motherboard.com, Waypoint.Vice.com. Yeah, I get you. I get it. Yeah, that adds up. Let's take a quick break and come back. We can talk about some other games and some news and some other stuff. We will BRB. All right, we are back. Hey, Patrick? What? All right, I'm going to give you a situation.
Yeah, hit me. I'm ready. I love situations.
What's the situation?
Here we go. I am going to buy an Xbox Series X. Don't ask me why.
Are you?
Well, I'm gonna. And I'm going to go home, and I'm going to put it down. Oh, cool box. Look at it. Oh, it's a cool box. Where am I going to put this box? Oh, it's actually smaller than I thought it was. That's kind of cute. Okay, we're plugging it in. I'm plugging it in. I'm working through it.
Grate some cheese on the side.
Yeah, just on the side. I have like a little Caesar salad. Like, oh, wow. Crisp. Delicious. Cooling. I love it. This is a good situation. I should have quickly just like roasted some chicken and cut some mold. You know what? I would have just heated up some chicken I already made and just tossed that on there.
Yeah,
that
you were thinking ahead.
I should have done this. I should have just done this. I have it in the fridge. Why did I just get the chicken out? You know what? Let me wait. It has to install an update anyway. It's a new console, but you have to download. I'm gonna run to the kitchen.
Baby.
I'm gonna get it's a title update. It's a new firmware. I'm gonna go get the chicken. I'll just heat that up really quick, maybe in a pan with a little oil, and then I toss that right on top of the Caesar.
You don't want it too dry, right?
I don't want it too dry. I toss that right on top. But the Caesars already has. I probably put too much dressing on it, if I'm being honest with myself. So maybe that's. So I'm gonna eat this. Oh, good. Okay, cool. I have an Xbox Series X now. What am I playing on it on day one? Because what I thought I was going to play on it, and this was a guess, because it didn't say this technically, but it seemed as if the thing you would play on it would be Halo Infinite. What am I playing on it now that Halo Infinite has been delayed to 2021?
Well, if you buy the Control Ultimate Edition, you could take your existing, you could upgrade. Why don't that be available in November? Did they say that it's going to be out by the end of the year? I'm not sure if that update
Wait, what? Am I not allowed to? I already have Control. Have Control.
You do? No, and you can play that version of Control, that base PS4, basically unplayable version of Control on your PS5 or Xbox Series X, but not the updated.
You're not. This just dropped, right? This just dropped.
No, this was a big thing earlier this week. You didn't know about
earlier
this?
this week? I missed this week. I thought this was new.
No.
I thought
So
this
the smart delivery thing, where this initiative Microsoft is pushing, where hey, when you buy the a game right now for your Xbox or your PC or whatever, and when you buy the Xbox Series X, you'll just get the best version of that. With Control, it sounds like they're going to either make you pay for that upgrade. Or if you buy the Ultimate Edition that comes with that. They haven't said...
I just can't imagine they will actually stick to these guns. Like, it's just so... I like Control a lot. I'm not buying it again.
Just to get that console-based ray tracing.
This feels the most... I can't speak for Remedy in this way, and I shouldn't.
Let's be clear. I cannot say... this with certainty. I think people are forgetting that Remedy didn't publish.
This is the thing I'm saying. This is the most 505 game shit 505 games seen.
You see how that Bloodstained shipped on Switch?
This is what I'm saying. And 505 has published a lot of good games.
Yeah.
I've been to many 505 events. I've dealt with very nice people at 505. But being like, we're going to charge you $40 for that game you already own because it's got the good graphics now is the most 505. I don't know why they're like mafioso.
Does feel like that store you want to support, but also every time you go in there, you're like, oh, I like what you're doing, but also fuck you. You know
And they're
what?
like,
I'm
yeah,
just gonna
fuck
buy it
you,
off
give me
Amazon.
$5. How about $5 fuck me?
505, you go into the store and then you take out the Amazon app and you scan the QR code and you order it from within 505 and go, and they're thankful you came into the store. They saw your face, but you did just buy this thing for $7 cheaper
Somewhere
on your
else.
phone.
That's the 505 story. That's still anyway. The story that I was priming us for was not to just dunk on this publisher who's published many games I like, but we've all had experiences with.
But I was just
At least they're publishing them.
At least they're publishing them.
The final point of that should just be that, like, my understanding is Microsoft is pushing really hard to get publishers to adopt in to Smart Delivery just being a free upgrade, so that you just get that with the games that you buy. What was it, like NBA? There are other games that have handled this in other like, wasn't it like EA said they were going to offer it for Madden, but for like 6 months, and then just like, sorry, that upgrade goes away. Like there is a
This is a
Microsoft
contested space for sure.
Well, yeah, it's not something that they're requiring as like a cert requirement. Like, they're not saying like, hey, if we will publish on Xbox, you need to offer the the upgraded version for free. They have left that open, and have been, I think, by sheer pressure, like getting a couple of partners on board and being like, hey, if you don't do this, gamers be mad, and they're good at that part, which in some ways is shittier. Like it's kind of shitty on Microsoft's part, because these upgrades aren't free. Like, like this isn't like a PC where you just like run it on a new graphics card and brrrr goes the graphics. Like, that's not. That's not how this works. Like, when you build it on a console, they're like, work has to be done for this to happen. And so, like, absent Microsoft, like, what should happen is Microsoft steps in and is like, hey, we're partnering with 505, and now this is coming, which is actually, like, I think the actual resolution to this is probably not 505, who I don't get the impression like is sitting on like piles of cash.
No. They're doing this. They're like, we got to get some extra money. This was a bad year.
And Control, everything that has come out of Remedy and 505 about that game is like very much been like like really glad Epic came along and offered us £1 of cash for that PC version, because it sounds like it didn't sell particularly well. Hopefully what Microsoft does is steps in and says like, hey, we're partnering with 505, and now. Because that's been actually one of my theories, is that, hey, maybe on PS5 you still get screwed, but Microsoft steps in and says, well, for Xbox owners. And the reason they're going to need to do that is because they're going to need something to play on their Xbox Series X.
Wait a second. My download just completed. I'm finished the Caesar salad. Where is Halo Infinite? Where's my Master Chief?
2021, because it's been delayed.
I got to wait for Master Chief?
It is simultaneously shocking and not shocking that Halo Infinite has been delayed to 2021.
We floated it 2 weeks ago or something. When they announced that they were bringing in another studio to do final like polish work, one of the things that we said was like, could this be the first step towards where we need a little more time? And it turns out,
my running theory has been, given the such a sort of overall negative response to its unveiling, was do you do the safe route and you launch a multiplayer beta? Because it sounds like the only thing people universally came away excited about from the Halo Infinite rollout was Halo multiplayer is still like really good and extremely popular, and you make that free to play. Like, that seems like a thing people would like enjoy. And I still think that is still a possibility. I'm still reluctant to think there will not be some Halo thing you can download on day one that isn't the Master Chief Collection. So I won't be surprised if there's a multiplayer beta between now and launch. But yeah, I think they're doing the responsible thing for that project. I will point to something Jason Schreier mentioned, which is backed up in my own reporting, and probably all of us who know people who work on big projects. Delays, no matter how significant, there is zero evidence that it suddenly means like crunch is going away, that there is real breathing room for these developers. It mostly means that crunch is extended for whenever this game launches, which, if I had to guess, is by the end of March. That I would think. I don't
Q1
know. I don't know what Microsoft's like fiscal year is, but a lot of them end March 31st.
Before tax day.
Yeah, those are reasons these.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games where like there is pressure to get a Halo out there because they're nervously watching Austin's croutons browning and being like, we have until he finishes his spring salad, like before he really loses his patience. And Austin's breathing exercises will not tame him anymore.
They won't. I need to play video game. I need to play video game.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like missing the launch window like does suggest to me that it's probably not a fun time to be on that project, and it probably is not going to be fun bringing it home, right? This is not going to be one of those like, hey guys, let's make the best game we can, but also take care of ourselves and be good to the team. My suspicion is that is not how it is going. Have everyone take a week and just reflect on how much you love Halo and how excited. Like, bring your best ideas back to work in September.
If you could just go
This coming Monday,
to
just
the
take
chief.
a day of Halo. And, just like...
a Daylo.
Takes a Daylo.
Take yourself a Daylo. Once a week, we're going to have a Daylo around here. And that day is Sunday. The other 6 days, please be here. That's boo.
My favorite...
an email from Microsoft Games president, like, hey, years ago, Halo 2 asked a good question. What did you first think when you first saw Halo? And I think we should all be reflecting on that these days. I, of course, am sitting at home reflecting on that right now in my beautiful Pacific Northwest estate.
When Halo 3 launched, it asked us to finish the fight. Well, now I'm asking you to finish the fight against making a good game. That fight's going to be a little longer than we thought it was going to be. And you're going to have to fight a little harder. But in the end, it's going to be worth it.
You have to imagine the internal message included some sort of Halo-based pun.
Puns. If you were on that team and they sent you a Halo pun to tell you you're going to be working in crunch for the next 6 months, you got to let us know what it is. You got to leak that shit.
Send us
wink allegedly
grabs of your cringiest like motivational emails and shit that is most like brand Kool-Aid drinking.
Let's
garbage.
broaden this out beyond Halo.
Just in general. I remember I got an email once from someone who is no longer at CBS Interactive, someone high up in the food chain, well above Giant Bomb, who, while everyone was trying to get their year-end stuff together, was reflecting on how he was going to spend his time, or had already spent his time on the holidays in Hawaii at a yoga retreat. And he was like, I just remember sitting back in the hammock and looking up and seeing the wonder of nature. There was a double rainbow, a real one, not like the meme. And
I remember this email.
Like the meme.
There was a real one, motherfucker.
There was a real one. There was a video.
That dude wasn't rich in Mauna Loa doesn't mean that it wasn't a real double rainbow.
No. Also, that guy died. Did you hear that?
What?
Double rainbow guy's dead.
Oh, shit.
Sorry, rip to that guy. Like, genuinely, that's sad. He brought a lot of joy to people.
Yeah.
So don't besmirch the name of Yosemite Bear Mountain Double Rainbow 1810 YouTube. Paul Bear Vasquez. Anyway, sorry to bring this down. We should, really take a moment and
Double
realign
Rainbow
ourselves
guy,
with the Master
his
Chief.
enthusiasm and wonder was genuine. That is why we loved him.
Exactly.
There is a
Your
trend in
shitty corporate
speak
boss.
too,
Yes.
Yeah.
And a tendency to confuse man, people love it when influencers post pictures of themselves like being inspired by the view from like a $1,500 a night resort. So why are my employees angry at me when I talk about what a nice time I'm having at Davos this year?
Hey, small aside. For some reason I started getting in like Facebook, you scroll through the different ads you get, and I've gotten a couple of like the underwear ones. I don't know, Facebook's trying to signal something to me.
Time to get you some new drawers. What's up?
One of the women that was advertising it, like often it's like an actual like influencer that's associated with it. And I was like, I wonder how many followers do you need to get in this game? I was like, is this someone that's got like 800,000, like
3 million? What's underwear? Where do you got to be to get to sell underwear?
Yeah. Because the way they advertise it, it's usually in like most advertising is like you're not gonna be able to find these people. But now, of course, the thing is, it's like, oh, it's real people. And so, click the ad. Doesn't give me any information, but like it wasn't hard to like find like the
You're a journalist.
Yeah, the influencer's name. Just punch that in and pulled up their Instagram. And like this one woman, good for her, bless her heart.
Get paid.
It's like 8,000 followers. I was like, really? And she's like listed as a travel blogger and has the agent email and
Listen,
like her like to
hustle's
posting
real.
ratio is very low. Even in the ones where like, come on, like you post it like you're in your bikini, those are supposed to spike the likes. Like, not much action happening on this AK influencer. And I was like, this is a good game to be in.
Patrick's out here like, I should change
Let's go.
tracks.
I was
Patrick,
like,
honestly,
You
if
should
you wanted
message
to
that
reach,
agent, dude.
yeah, see what you could do. I mean, listen, you're already on here selling underwear. You don't get a cut of that.
That's true. That's true.
You know, we don't get battle stations.
Patrick
didn't
just
get a battle
posting
station.
a speedo shot of him playing like Mario Maker on a beach somewhere, being like, "Man, back to basics. Just getting my mind right and thinking about my mind right and
My
thinking about what got me here."
mind underwear.
Mind Might is the new thing that I'm going to be hawking a couple of years
Yes,
from now.
exactly.
These
yeah.
are my vitamins.
Oh, they really get you ready to go for all the gaming you're going to do this fall
too.
on
I
these
need
new
to take
consoles.
these two Mind
Which
Might
will not be
pills
Halo.
before-
Okay, but like, can I just? This is like the pettiest. Okay, so timeout one. I don't care. Like, I care about the crunch thing. That's what I care about. That part sucks. They're launching a console. They're not going to have a lot of new, super shiny, AAA, big budget, blockbuster games at day one. I don't care. I don't have a horse in the race. What? I'm at a weird place where I was looking at the list of games coming out this year, and I realized there isn't besides Cyberpunk 2077 is like the big one this fall. But I was like,
Look, I
what's
still
the
think
next thing I'm
there's
looking
an open
forward
question
to?
if that game comes out this year. I think everything.
I think you're totally right. I think everything should be on the table. Everything's on the table. I don't know that we're going to get November. Let me just skip November this year in general.
The month. We just don't like they pass a bill
because like America
November this
knows,
year.
and not that America determined. Well, military might being what it is. They, I could very easily imagine, especially depending on how the election goes, Trump being like, November didn't happen. No, this month doesn't exist. I'm just skipping it 100%. I just don't know that we're going to have a lot to give thanks for when November hits this year. I'm not a big Thanksgiving person because of the history of genocide that this country committed and then covers up with holidays like Thanksgiving and very whitewashed histories of unity and friendship with the Native Americans and indigenous peoples around the world, which America has conquered. But I do like using the day and be like, you know what? There's some good shit for me this year. You know what? This year did all right. Here's this, and this. I'm not ready to do that in November anyway, and I'm certainly not ready to do it without Master Chief.
$600 on an Xbox Series X
or
whatever
PS5 or what is.
Here's like it'd be the very mask off moment for games though if like damn, I can't believe he just invalidated all the ballots that were sent in through the post office and then shut down the post office and turned it into Trump drop shipping. That's a huge bummer.
But
man, it's amazing they released all those games all at once, and I'm so busy. Like, there's just so much good shit to focus on
good
too.
shit.
Like, man, this is that Soma.
God, is what is coming out this year still? I guess is Deathloop actually coming out in December? That's not going to come out in December. That's going to get booted.
Theoretically, Demon Souls is like a launch for PS5. We haven't seen anything on that yet.
Yeah.
Theoretically, Spider-Man is this year. Theoretically,
is it?
Ratchet.
I guess it is. I guess
Miles in theory. I think they said this holiday, but that gives them so much wiggle room that I think these days, even with a release date, I think you should just assume almost everything like moves out and like
Bug Snacks will come out.
Snacks,
right?
It sounds everything. Yeah, my understanding is that game is actually pretty close to being finished. So I think Bug Snacks will. I think the PS5 will have like a better launch.
We didn't mention it, but there was a trailer for Bug Snacks, like a gameplay trailer for Bug Snacks at that last PS5 event. It looked good.
Yeah.
That's not what I expected it to be, but people should go look that
in
up.
a good way.
Yeah, in a good way.
We still don't know when it's actually when
we don't know shit.
Either of the machines are actually dropping, right?
No.
I think we'll know more of that by the.
That's the real one. Does anyone want to put money on whether or not one of the machines slips?
Yeah,
I think it's too late.
Will not happen.
It's too late, right? They're already being made.
That decision was made with the Halo. Like there's a reason the Halo Infinite delay was announced, and concurrently with that, a press release went out literally at the same time, saying this November,
Right.
You'll be able to purchase an Xbox Series X. So those boxes will come out. Launches are weird, and I mean, this is where, like, if let's say there's some sort of disaster scenario for Sony where like all of their games start slipping out of the launch window. Demon's Souls isn't able to hit, and Ratchet's not able to hit, and Spider-Man's not able to hit. And that's all early 2021 as they kind of like deal with COVID and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the Game Pass is still like an incredible
yes,
like deal. Like that's part of Microsoft's long-term. I think probably that helps that helps them justify, like, in a world without Game Pass, Halo Infinite fucking ships in November. Like, just there is no delay.
Right.
Game Pass,
their press
allows
release
them to go
literally said Xbox Series X launches this November with thousands of games spanning 4 generations.
And it's
true. It's true, but also the lady doth protest too much. Like, okay.
Well, their cards are pretty limited in terms of like what they like. You want the medium? It's like, well, yeah, we know Patrick wants the medium, but I don't know if that's the game that we want to broadcast widely as the game to hang your hat on.
Totally.
So it's like the right decision, but in a weird year. That game, Halo Infinite, has been a troubled development for a while now, and my understanding is that it was in rough shape prior to COVID, and that COVID just like blew the whole thing to pieces. Like, the game's pivot to work from home didn't go well, which that's for all the reasons we've outlined in the past of how why that game could be in the shape that it was is understandable. But I think that game had issues before, and then COVID like took a it's like, you imagine like going into COVID with people that don't have like strong relationships with their partners. Like, like a thing like COVID is just gonna like make everything find those weak points and just push on them. And my understanding is that's kind of what happened with Halo Infinite. So the thing I'll be curious is how they show that game next, because they're like, on some level, the bar is extremely low and like higher than it was before.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be good for it in the long run. Maybe that low bar setting, the pushback, means that the next time it shows up, people are going to be like, "Oh, this looks better." Probably
can't
not.
look worse, right? People are going to be looking for that pop in. That's the second time around. So
yeah, I mean, it was a good reminder. I know that my taste is idiosyncratic. Like, I know, like, it's very goofy that we wound up with a platform this big, because all of us do have very specific tastes that often differ from the like traditional super mainstream, and also are not at the same time. Or we're not talking about like all of us being in the alt game space. Like, we're not. I want to be clear. I don't think
like
that we're
Halo.
outsider art. Right, totally.
I was excited. I was ready to like Halo Infinite a lot.
Watching the response to the Halo Infinite trailer is like a great reminder of just how different. And versus like the PS5, like that first PS5 event where I was kind of cold on that, and then watching the Halo Infinite trailer, and I was like, yeah, okay, that looks like a Halo to me. Versus the like very with a scalpel finding everything wrong with it. The difference between the way I watch these things and the way other people watch these things is a gulf. People are going to pick apart a Halo trailer piece by piece until every flaw is visible. And not that those flaws were not there, to be clear. Like, I'm not taking away from that. But it is just like, I was like, all right,
yeah, that expectation
looks like a Halo to me, I guess. In any case, I think we're going to take another break. And when we come back, some of us will be here to talk about the Control DLC. There's a Control event today. That's happening. Rob?
I don't even want to see that trailer. I don't, Godspeed, but I was like, that's in 2 weeks. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm going to go into my Alan Wakeness, like, eyes closed, not wide open.
You're not woke. You're not Alan woke. You're Alan sleep. Okay.
In 2020, he's Alan woke.
I can't believe they canceled Alan Wake. Actually, what's the bad guy in Alan Wake's name? He has a great name.
Wait, it's just the darkness.
No. There's that character who's
Scratch?
like the Scratch.
That's a great name for a villain.
Yeah,
that's also not an original name, right? Like, I mean, that's just
Mr. Scratch is like a long running like
pseudonym
of the devil, but it's great anyway. Thanks for joining us, Patrick. I know you're heading out. We're gonna take a break now, and when we come back, I might also be gone. We're gonna depend how much I need a nap. That's the truth. That's the truth I'm going to put out there is, do I need a nap more than I need to be on this segment about Control, a game I haven't finished, about Alan Wake, a game I'm not as positive on as
Look at that face. Look at Rob's face.
Rob and Kato and Gita. I don't know. Gita's going to tag in, and we can talk about that. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'm gone. And if I am, I hope everyone has a good weekend.
What if that video sucks, though? What if this is my Halo Infinite trailer? Where I'm like, this is not sufficiently
but that makes
impressive but reverential.
That makes me want to be on the podcast more.
Austin will stick around to see Rob put a finger to the wind on Rob's reaction.
Yes.
Like, he enjoyed it. He's having a great time. I'm gonna take a nap.
I'm taking a nap. It's the opposite of my Twitter policy. It's do you ever see a reaction so normal? He's like, I can take a nap. Yeah, I can take a nap right now. I'll sneak away. All right. We will be back in just a little bit.
And we're back. Austin watched the Control AWE Twitch stream and found he didn't have a whole lot to say, so he bailed.
Immediately went to sleep.
Pretty much.
I hope he's sleeping. Sleep well,
However,
buddy.
we did get Mrs. Casper Darling to join us for this segment.
Hello. Hi, I'm here. Both my husbands were in this stream. I'm also Mrs. Alan Wake. So,
yeah.
I'm Gita.
So,
my name is Gita. Just in case you didn't know what my name is, that's my name.
Mrs. Alan Wake, Gita.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a Remedy bigamist, how did this hit for you?
What I liked the most about this presentation was how they adapted Alan Wake's really intense aesthetic of the Pacific Northwest and light and shadow and like seedy motels to Control's entirely different like visual aesthetic, right? Like every time Alan Wake showed up on the keyboard doing that visual effect they do where you're walking through people's profiles, I was like, this shit. It really like, I am so eager for more lore and so eager just to see more of Wake himself and hear more of that narration. It really brought me into the mental headspace where I'm like, you know what, maybe I'll go back and play Alan Wake again before this expansion comes out. Like maybe I'll go back and fucking, I don't know, check out Quantum Break and see if there's any more connections between these games. More than any of the new plot of the specific plot of this DLC, it made me more interested when they said like definitively that they said canonically all these games are connected. This is a shared universe, and I'm assuming that includes more than just Alan Wake.
Yeah, I mean, so canonically, Max Payne is basically an Alan Wake character, right? Is that how they tie that in?
Yeah.
So then Max Payne is not real.
Yeah, but
Disappointing.
Alan Wake writes a character named Alex Casey, which is voiced by, if you find pages of him in the original Alan Wake, he's voiced by the same voice actor that voices Max Payne, and it's a hard-boiled detective story. But also, they mentioned in the beginning of the stream that Alex Casey, in the world of Jesse Faden's Control, is a real person who was investigating the disappearance of Alan Wake.
Hang on. Is that the character name, or is Alex Casey that? Yeah, it is. So who's the FBI agent who loses his mind in Alan Wake, though? Remember the dude who's really aggro and just eats shit at the end of the first act?
Yeah, he's just a rage monster. Yeah. FBI Alan Wake character.
Was that not
Robert Nightingale? He was the federal agent that was pursuing. Yeah, and he was mentioned. Okay, let me pull up this other article I wrote while I was at Kotaku about the connections, because I remember mapping this all out before, because fans were really really interested in connecting these dots. So Robert Nightingale, I believe, is mentioned in the case file for Bright Falls, Washington that you can find in Control. Yes. So the basic idea from what was already pieced together in the game, I tweeted this earlier, so I'm just going to go to my Twitter and drop this in chat, is that the Federal Bureau of Control went to Bright Falls after Nightingale was taken over by the darkness and disappeared officially. And then from there, the Federal Bureau of Control came in and tried to clean it up as best they could, but obviously something came back with them, is essentially the setup for this that was already present in the game before all of this. So I wasn't like, I knew that these games were already connected. I just didn't realize they were like actually dead set on making it so literal. I'm so glad they have the rights to do that. It would be the best if they had the ability to actually have like Max Payne in it. But it also feels like this Alex Casey thing is their weird workaround.
Yeah, I think that's probably the only thing we're going to get, especially because the Rockstar thing. They kind of... And then they rejected the canon of... I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it. Except to say there's a really gratuitous moment in a cemetery in Max Payne 3 where he basically says he goes to the grave of his partner who, remember, was a crooked cop who sold him out to the Russian mob. He goes to her grave and it's like, man, I really fucked everything up. I'm so sorry to Winterson, was that her name? And he was like, damn, that was my biggest mistake. And I'm like, I don't think it was, man. She like covered up a massive number of homicides, but Max Payne 3 was like, nah, Max Payne 2 isn't. That's where the series went wrong. Now let's murder some people in some favelas. So Alan Wake is now in control. Austin made one comment that I do kind of agree with, though. He was kind of hoping for a little more Bright Falls flavor in this expansion, and I gotta admit, I kind of was too.
They only showed us the first 15 minutes. I'm definitely with you. And that I love the oldest house, but I love seeing Jessie as a character out of her element even more. And I feel like if they took her entire town dump and put it in the oldest house, they probably could take a large portion of Bright Falls and do the same. I was hoping once we got to the motel, we'd see more of a Bright Falls vibe, because that's like the space where their two aesthetics of that game and this game merge with each other, is in the motel that they go through to go to different locations. But that kind of was just sort of a come and gone moment. Hopefully we get more. You know, I feel like it would be a big mistake if we didn't get at least like one good set piece of her walking through the Pacific Northwest in this beautiful engine, right?
Right.
But I feel like I feel like though, like this is not, the way that they're presenting this so far has not made me feel like they're not going to do another Alan Wake in some way. And I feel like the minute they start front loading, it's Alan Wake, you're back in Bright Falls, that's when I'm going to start feeling like they're not going to do another Alan Wake.
Interesting. Yeah, I want to be there with you. I am definitely...
I see on your face some hesitation here.
I just have this feeling that we're not going to see Alan Wake. You know what I mean? Even though they got the rights back, I'm not convinced we'll get Alan Wake 2, even though I think, given what they do in Control, like I am even more confident they could nail a sequel to that game.
They could really do it.
Yeah, and that engine is exquisite. So, things they did show, and I think maybe this is somewhat what is driving Austin's hesitancy, is you have a new section of the oldest house. It looks really similar to... oh gosh, what's the science?
Yeah, the
level?
science, the research sector. Yeah.
Yes, research. Central research was a huge, like, sprawling level with tons of secrets. That appears to be the direction they're going for the investigations division.
Yeah.
That Jessie is going around in, which is good news to me, because honestly, I think one of the things that really made me like fall in love with Control was the fact that I basically got completely sidetracked doing tons of shit around the research labs.
Oh,
and then
same.
the Panopticon. Like, I just went everywhere, did everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's sort of the framework they're going for here, with just a giant space that is full of stuff like that, I'm sold. That's probably what I want from a Control expansion more than anything.
Yeah, I feel like that. I mean, I had a very similar experience in the Panopticon because just like even just looking at things and reading descriptions of things, I found intellectually stimulating in both of those sections. Right, like they do a lot of the work of sort of lining up secrets for you. It's like it being tossed a perfect pitch, right? And you know you're gonna hit a home run every time. They manage to guide you to new information in a way that makes you feel like you're figuring everything out. So they're highly curated, but at the same time, like dependent on your curiosity and your sense of discovery. And I just really I loved looking at all the different little objects in the Panopticon that were behind, and like the ways that they had been breached and like the evidence of people around them. It's such a fucking cool environment. Yeah. I am a little, I guess, I think I want to see more ways that this building can be. Like if they're going to be so dedicated to having everything in control take place in the oldest house, I want to see more examples of what a brutalist space can look like and how it can go out of control. I do like some of the new visual effects they showed off, like the repeating boxes and the repeating that side table that was just sort of morphing and repeating itself across a hallway. And I like how the darkness integrates into the aesthetic that's already present. Another really good example of them taking something that was established in Alan Wake and then making it fit control without it feeling like it's sticking out like a sore thumb. This is sort of the opposite version of what like Joss Whedon did when he did that first Avengers movie, where he just brought every movie's individual visual aesthetic to the same film and put it in like a very gray, glum background so that they felt cohesive because they were all the brightest thing. Here, it's like they definitively nailed down what control looks like and feels like. And they were like, what are the parts of Alan Wake we can put in the oldest house that still makes sense? And they really, really got that. But I want the space itself to feel a little bit different at this point.
Yeah, I think about, like, for me, what is missing in what we've seen so far is I have seen every version and configuration of the 50s and 60s office pods, where there's central desks and then offices spoking around the hub area. I've seen every variation on that. What I haven't seen is anything that sort of is as arresting as the air shaft, the atrium in Central Research, right? Where you've got this like glorious expanse with wonderful lighting, and then this sort of labyrinthine and slightly uneasy feeling set of staircases wrapping around it, and like hallways hidden behind like false walls and such. I want something like that again. I need some sort of I need some sort of architectural element,
a landing of some kind. Like I always like fighting in the that particular section of the investigation sector because there's so much big open space and there's like multiple different levels. It's just good level design as well as being visually different from the rest of the space. And you understand then also it gives context to what the research division is in relationship to the other ones. This is a division of people who are been given like all the funding in the world, essentially. You can tell like what that organization is like just based on the spaces they're in. Whereas, the containment area is darker and spookier and more drab, right? And it has its moment of, visual signifier is the Panopticon, which is a prison that's built of many different, like much different materials, is much sparser, is more industrial. I need a visual signpost so I can understand what the investigations division's like is within this organization. And we just haven't seen that. So maybe it'll show up, but so far I want to have a hint, like what are they, the cool like secret agent guys, right? Like what are they? What is this department in relationship to the rest of the Federal Bureau of Control?
Yeah. It like where is this where like the Fox Mulder of the FBC works?
Yeah, are we gonna look up at these like popcorn ceilings and see a bunch of pencils stuck up there?
Yeah. I got it. Like, admittedly, though, things that did, and I suppose this is the thing that has me hoping that they're keeping a bit under wraps, is like we got glimpses of things that have been implied. Like, for instance, there was that walled off part of the oldest house that just said entrance to New York subway. and you don't get to go in. It looks like now, at least we saw some subway cars that look like they're in play. We saw a lunar lander for some kind of reason, and I like that implies a level of goofiness that I'm extremely here for, and I'm looking forward to.
I just hope that the Federal Bureau of Control faked the moon landing. How rad would that be? You know?
Fakes the moon landing because an Altered World event happened that put something on the moon?
Yes, absolutely.
Or some shit like that, right? Where it's like, it's a cover of a cover.
I hope Kubrick was involved. I hope Kubrick was, like if it was a last minute, like, shit, there's an AWE on the moon and they're supposed to go tomorrow. We got to figure something out.
I am hopeful we're going to get busted into some of those weird environments and backstories. I do have a hope that we will glimpse a little taste of Bright Falls, though. That is such a strong location. Remember the fucking giant deer for the Deer Fest?
Oh my God.
And being chased by that thing? That ruled.
So cool. Or even just in the beginning of the game, just like getting chased by the bulldozer, the killdozer.
Yes.
Did you know that there's just this documentary on Netflix called Tread about a guy who's definitely mentally ill, but his response to that was creating a bunch of, in his own head, rivalries with other local businessmen, and then selling all of his material goods, buying a storage building, going there and living there and building a giant bulldozer that's like an armored tank, and then destroying all of his rival businessmen.
Wait, no, I remember hearing about that dude.
There's a documentary about Netflix out that's called Tread, but like Killdozer was right there. That's what he built.
Yes, I remember this. I remember police couldn't stop him because he was out in an armored vehicle, and they literally he hit something that knocked loose all the antifreeze in his vehicle, and he realized that this was the end of the road. I'm pretty sure he welded himself in there because he spoiler alert, he killed himself, but also it's just the news, so I guess it's not spoilers. But I mean, good that he was not able to literally demolish the whole town, I suppose. They were thinking about calling it an airstrike. Anyway, we're talking about Alan Wake. Yeah, like even those sequences in the Pacific Northwest where it's just like you in the dark and you hear a rumble and you're just like, fuck. Like there's the evocativeness of that's like the light and sound design in that game is something that I want to see a return to. Like just the interplay of light and shadow. I'm glad that they've brought back the light and darkness mechanic, which gives me hope that we are going to get some really good moments with Jesse just running from moments of light to moments of light. Mm-hmm. But I want to see some pine trees, or at least like an episode of the TV show, The Fake of Night Springs, right? What if the puppets went on that? Oh, no, sorry. When I saw the TV in the Pacific Overlook, or what was the hotel? Ocean
View.
Ocean View Hotel. Right, that's plainly not within view of an ocean. God help me, I love it.
Yep.
The Ocean View Hotel. When I saw the TVs in that, I was like, they're gonna bring Night Springs back.
Yeah.
And I was so disappointed when it was just static. But like, I expect some Night Springs.
I really do.
I also, the thing that does have me just completely bought in is because I think it reflects an understanding of like what worked best about Alan Wake. Mm-hmm. Making Emil Hartman the monster who is like lurking in the bureau, because that whole segment where Wake is like institutionalized and gaslit by Hartman, who is trying to basically create like a creative studio out of people he's like kidnapped and is using mental health holds to like enslave, was such a weird and good like detour in that game, and it is so memorable for like providing a really useful break in that action and sort of reframing what is going on in this game and what it's about. Having that character come back, I think, is a really smart decision, and has me enthusiastic about like whatever they have planned.
Yeah, it's I was also looking at the Alan Wake fandom wiki and saw that mentioned in the case files that are already in control, Robert Nightingale and Emil Hartman disappeared before the Federal Bureau of Control could make it to Bright Falls. So it makes me feel like if Hartman, if they're dropping this big thing now, which is that Hartman is the villain here, where could Nightingale perhaps show up if he also was not recovered before the Federal Bureau of Control made it there? There's just like a lot of really good like kernels that really feed into the whole like horror writer vibe here also that Alan Wake is bringing to the table. Like we're basically, Remedy does this thing where they just kind of take you on a nice carnival of different kinds of science fiction pulp in their games, you know? And here is the meeting of like eldritch horror pulp and Stephen King style horror novel pulp. And the thing that they are like definitely where they meet in the middle is with this strong narrator voice and small things that have huge significances here. So if we know that Emil Hartman's coming back, I'm pretty sure Nightingale should come back. I just really hope we see Barry. I just really hope.
Yes.
I just want to see Barry. I've just been thinking about Barry this whole
Where is
time.
Barry?
I thought your comment was very good about making Hartman the villain here, or at least initially, especially because I like the way that the way he's introduced in that demo we just watched over the stream, in a way that blends him as a character that's also native to Control in the Federal Bureau of Control, right? He was stretched like a worm through time, which is one of the things that the Hiss says. And right before that, you hear some other people talking, saying, you know, there is this song, and they were saying, baby, 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 yeah, an orange peel. And I was like, fuck, like, that's amazing. Like, somehow there's this connection between Bright Falls and the Hiss and the darkness, and that is the thing we'll ultimately have to untangle. But also, we're seeing Hartman again in a way that we could only see him within the Federal Bureau of Control, within the oldest house. So, it's fucking tight. Just fucking tight shit. And it's hard to talk about it in a linear way because I just keep remembering all the things that I'm hoping that happen, even if we just hear Barry's voice. I would just love that. Barry is the agent that everyone wishes they have.
And he
He really
I think it's the
believes
same voice
in that one.
actor as the nerdy little mobster in the Max Payne games.
Oh, yes. Oh, lovely.
Remember the guy you have to escort in the Captain Baseball Bat outfit who has the little squeakers in his feet?
Oh my God.
God, what a legendary game.
God, how cool is Remedy? Just, they are very much, I always really like artists who are like, okay, this is my thing and I'm just going to indulge this thing, but they're not cheesy or corny or referential. They actually like really, really love a specific genre or like a specific pulp trope, and they want to explore it from every single angle. And I feel like Remedy has just become more and more in control of their powers when it comes to remixing like major genre tropes.
Which is interesting to me because to me it always feels like the thing that confounds me about Remedy is that they're like one of those almost like a wince comic where you push the thing to the point where it begins to break and starts to suck, and then you keep pushing and you find that on the other side of that you get to something really special and funny. And Remedy seems to always like, on its face, it's like, this is kind of dumb. Like, it's kind of cool, it's kind of dumb. And then there's a lot of like, there is a lot of like really derivative crap in this and like bad writing that is intentional. I don't know. And then it keeps pushing through until you end up with, that's a really great like genre tribute. That is not only a tribute, it's not like just a cover, but it's also an interesting like exploration of why we love the things we love, like a reflection on enthusiasm itself.
Yes. I feel like the statement, it's not a lake, it's an ocean, is about the things that we like about that kind of horror writing, right? Where it's more so the implication of the thing than the thing itself that scares us. In fact, the more you actually see of the thing, of the guy in the diving helmet, the less scary it is. But they end that game, Alan Wake, on this moment of you are on the precipice of understanding a greater secret that will change the world. And that is the appeal of that kind of writing entirely. So, I mean, in a way, maybe don't have a direct follow-up to Alan Wake. Maybe stick him just in Control, because the point of that game, I think, is the mystery and the joy and the danger of standing on the precipice of knowledge and the precipice of understanding.
I would love... I would be very happy if somehow they wedded these two universes. Like, I'm here for Alan Wake 2. I'm also here for a, like... Jesse goes out into the field at some point in a down the road Control sequel, and it like has to go deal with some Alan Wake shit. But you're like, I think you've hit on it though. Like, they're like we're I think the reason so many of us are fixated on Alan Wake in a weird way, this kind of sleeper game that underperformed pretty famously. It does leave you on this it does end on a real high note. And you're ready for more. And I think Control, to its credit, did the same thing. Like, maybe this is the power they've really mastered, is this notion of by the time the credits roll on their games, you've somehow completely bought into the premise and all the goofy weird shit, and now you're just uncritically in love with it. And that's where I've been with Control. That's where I've been with Alan Wake. So, yeah, just whatever it takes to get me more, I'm here for. There was one other announcement that really caught my attention. An art book.
Oh, I thought you were gonna
fucking God. I like almost immediately went to go see if I could pre-order it. I don't have any money at all right now. I need it so bad. Jesus.
Very
They already released a lot of this art online, but the idea of having a beautiful book that I can look through that will have like making of and behind the scenes documentation about some of this stuff, that's what I really need this book for. I'm so curious about the process of designing this game.
Kato, what did you think I was going to say?
I forgot that you had already mentioned that, so I was just like, oh yeah, there was this other cool part. No, it was kind of like, said as an aside, but I thought it was actually pretty great, is that they're adding a assist mode for free to everyone, which is a thing I would love to see in more kind of AAA space. Like, we've seen it like in the indie space a lot, but the specific idea of being able to tailor the it's like they had damage dealt, taken, damage taken, and like how fast your energy regens, all of that stuff you can just like turn up and down as much as you want, which I think is a thing that, I mean, understandably, it is a lot of work, but I would love to be able to see in more games.
Yeah, I was thinking that because my boyfriend doesn't play a lot of games, but he does like games. And he was, I remember him telling me that he got really, really stuck on Tomasi, which is, I think, one of the first bosses that people get stuck on is Tomasi. And I was thinking, like, oh, I wish I could have been there with him to sort of coach him through it, because I did this whole process where you're running from pillar to pillar, and then you just you throw things at him, and then you have to run and dodge everybody else while you're still getting your health back up. It was like hours of me strategizing to get this done, when sometimes you just need to have a little bit more damage dealt. Just a little bit, and you'll be fine.
Right.
To the thing about Tomasi, though, here is... I saw a lot of people complaining of the Tomasi fight, and I was like, what do you mean? It didn't seem that bad. There's 2 Tomasi fights.
Yeah.
And I didn't encounter the second one the first time I played the game. Like, I just totally straight up walked past that room, like, every time. So I was like, what are people on about, like, Tomasi being hard? No, to kill Tomasi sucks, man. Like, I heard about the assist mode, and I was like, I might
go back
and to deal with that guy.
Yeah. Like, it's just, I mean, when they also said more control points, I was like, oh, thank fuck. Like, some of these control points are located in places where you just have to walk forever to actually get to the place where you need to be, and I would just happy, just so happy. This game was hard, and I think not in an unfair way, but I think they are definitely approaching a place where, like, if you're coming in from Alan Wake and you're not here and you're already bought in from Control, having an assist mode is just going to be nice for you. Like, I like the shooting a lot. I'm happy about new guns. I'm happy about being able to lift more,
lift more things.
Levitate, lift more things. It's like power I use the most, and now I can use it in a more efficient way. I think just an assist mode is going to be real nice for a lot of people. Yeah. It's tough. It's, I think, maybe the hardest game that I've tried to actually be good at, right? That I've tried to meet at its own terms. A lot of the time, I'll approach a game that's like hard and not meant to be like, competitive or anything, and I'm just like, I am not here for this currently. If the combat doesn't like automatically sync in my brain, it's like I get a lot of that sort of hardness satisfaction from strategy games, really. Like, shooters are not really where I seek things to be hard. So I just feel like this is opening up the chance for more people to discover how fucking crazy and wild and charming Control is. It's always good, I think. And to get this granular, I think, is the best way to approach difficulty. I just am interested in seeing what you can control in Control. Waka waka.
That's an August 27th release date? Was it?
Yes. Thank you, Kato.
Yes.
Are we all confident in that? Kato, is that a yes? I'm googling it, or is that that sounds right to me?
As it's going into Google.
August 27th, Control.
Yeah.
Expansion 2, AWE. Yeehaw, baby! That's like around the corner. That's 2 weeks from today.
It's going to be rough for you, because you're going to be like, you got to finish that Crusader Kings review, and then Alan Wake needs your help. Attention, Control gamers. Alan Wake needs your help.
Finish the fight.
I have the code under the embargo. I can't say anything else about Crusader Kings 3, but I do have it. And who mama, that is absolutely a situation I'm gonna be in, Rob Zachney.
All right, I can probably cover the Alan Wake review if you're gonna stay on the Control.
What a tragedy for you. How sad. Sad for you. How sad for me that I get to read your wonderful writing about Control.
And I get to read you on Crusader Kings. So
really, it's just a delight for everybody.
It's gonna be a good end of August. Early.
Boy, we're fucking eating. People specifically like us are going to be eating at the end of August.
Well, this is the upside of all of this is like a lot of conventional AAA is just being like shoved off to nowhere, as we were talking about earlier on the show. You know, at some point will Halo. Who knows when? Do I care?
Knows.
Not really, because I've got to clean out the investigations division and then arrange some feudal nonsense. So I'm good.
Yeah. I'm pretty much my fake E3 that lasted 3 months set. I'm doing all right, you know? Everything I wanted to see is like actually coming out. Well, it's the same thing that's happening in Hollywood, right? All the movies that are actually coming out to digital are the ones they didn't think were going to make a lot of money. So all the ones directed by women and minorities. But those movies are doing great. Those movies are doing fantastic. Who knows if we're ever going to see Tenet in the United States? Probably not ever. Did you hear? Did you hear? They're reopening.
Can we release this on streaming? No.
No,
Only
Fortnite.
Vaccines to every American.
If you buy a ticket to see Tenet is like $400, unless you have insurance.
Or 5,000 V-Bucks.
Oh no! God. Yeah. Did you see that AMC is reopening? By the way, David told me this morning.
Oh, that's fucking grim, man.
AMC is reopening. Guess how much money the tickets are? Guess how much? You have to guess.
15 cents.
15 cents. 1920s prices. 2020 movies.
Specifically 1920. What was the economic context for 1920? Anyone know what might have happened in 1919?
Oh God, not
fucked up. It's so fucked up. AMC is like, man, it's plague times again. Let's celebrate the reopening of theaters and the Spanish influenza.
AMC's already in the fucking cool zone right now. The rest of us are headed right there. They're already there.
And also, like, so 15 cents. So if that promotion were to work, right? It won't, but if it were to work and puts asses in seats, what, their plan is to just jam theaters full of people trying to see a cheap show?
Yeah, if they're not, if they're socially distancing, then they're gonna make like $1 maximum on every showing of every movie. But they're not gonna do that. They're gonna try to put as many people in there as possible. Which, thank you AMC for making sure this plague never ends.
God.
Don't go to the movies unless it's only you in the theater. Even then, don't submit the people that are working there to your presence. They don't want to be there either.
They'd rather be at home playing Control, like we will be. But that will do it for this week's episode. Sorry, I've got some chaos happening with the dog in the background, so I'm going to do a very quick outro here. We'll be back next week. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at Waypoint. Where can people find you, Gita Jackson?
XOXO Gossip Gita.
Kato.
At @A_Kato_appears.
You can find me on Twitter at Rob Zachney. As always, thank you to Bowen for letting us use the track Miss You off the EP Pale Machine. Learn more at waypoint.zone/Bowen. And please read our stuff. We've got lots of great stuff this week. Gita had a really thought-provoking piece on Black character creation options in The Sims and the work the community's been putting in there to address some major gaps that have existed in The Sims for ages. You can check out my review of a Total War Saga Troy, which I definitely had to find replace the title before it went live because I got it wrong literally every time in my draft. But it's all good stuff. You can read it on Waypoint. Also known as Vice Games within Motherboard. It's all good. Listen to us next week. We'll be back. Well, Gita will be on vacation. Honeymooning.
That's right, suckers. I'm tired.
a well-earned rest. But for now, we must leave you. We'll be back next week with another Waypoint Radio.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not crazy, right? The most notable thing at the start of that stream, though, was like we gave Jesse an ass. Like,
you're not wrong. It was
that outfit was dubious, I would say.
Yeah, it's not great. I'm trying to remember what a stormtrooper's butt looks like.
Pardon?
Said now I'm trying to remember what a stormtrooper's butt looks like.
Don't they have armor plate there?
Do they? This is what I'm wondering. Because that's... I was like, oh, I guess the armor plating would have to be curved in a certain way to like really...
okay. Yeah. There's
there
armor plate.
Are there just butts out? No, there's armor plate? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it looks like... the armor go all the way around?
That's what I'm wondering.
No,
okay.
no. Okay, so it looks like there's a front piece and a back piece, and then you don't see the gap because, of course, there's arm armor in most of the shots, but and then there's a belt that sort of covers up the gap, but there is a gap.
Okay.
So the back and stuff is all one assembly, which means can stormtroopers not sit down?
I don't think they can. See, this is a sort of like logistical issue. It's like I can see why, but it also felt too prominent. Like there are ways to make that plating happen and not have it be so ass out.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, but then how do they sit? How does a
stormtrooper sit? Hi, Gita.
Hi, what's up? What are you talking about?
Stormtroopers.
Okay, the reason we're talking about this
Yeah.
is because I thought it was an interesting decision to have the new armor, the new outfit for Jesse, basically be like astronaut armor, but with like a little booty hole cut out. And I don't know how that sat with me.
I mean, it didn't seem much like a booty hole cutout, more so than like a nice, comfortable seat that you are carrying with you. Just a padded butt area.
So wait, so you think it's like a Tom Cruise Valkyrie situation where like there's a padded prosthetic butt?
Yeah, so you can sit down sometimes. You can just chill. It's got the 2 straps on either side. You know, maybe you need to take the butt pad off and just carry it with you.
The opening cutscene of AWE is Jesse talking about that tailbone injury that's like really been shitty ever since the foundation. Oh man, like I fell down a cavernous pit and like I'm just in agony here. And then her friend, like the scientist, is like, what about this?
What I'm realizing is, looking at these Stormtrooper outfits, is that none of them have any ass. Because if they did, there would be some hangage from the gaps here.
Yeah. What was that thing that Oscar Isaac said about his ethnic hips and those ships?
Oh, fuck.
Being Stormtrooper is racist. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I love that outfit. Given that
Fine. The suits are so much better, though. Like, don't you just want to see her in a suit?
Yeah, that's the problem. Her director suit was the best.
It was so good.
Oh, but so was that that Legion like suit where it was very 70s style blazer.
Oh yeah, I loved that one.
Yeah,
That one was good. I just want to shoot people with a gun and wear a nice suit. That's all.
that's me too.
Good thing we enjoy the games of Remedy.
I would have joined up with that gang in Reservoir Dogs just for the chance, like, hey, you want to wear a black suit and go shoot people? I'd be like, yes, I do.
It's really good that they didn't contact you because, you know, it really didn't turn out good for any of those people.
That's the thing. Even knowing, I'd have been like, huh, yeah.
But I get a suit?
Cool. Yeah. Can I be Mr. Black? Then sign me the fuck up.
Yeah. Listen, everyone wants to be Mr. Black, okay?
All right. So, yeah. All right. Here we go. Are we all recording? Are we going to go time.is? Yeah.
Oh,
sure
yeah, we
are.
gotta do that.
Gotta do that.
My David prefers timeanddate.com, but I'm a time.is stan.
Timeofday.com?
Timeanddate.com.
Timeanddate.com.
So what if you also want to know the date?
This is too much information. I just
No,
want the
I don't
time.
like that at all.
I just want the
Yeah.
time.
I just want the
sucks.
time. I like time.is
Dave,
and you
what
see
the
all the
fuck?
other times. I know. Listen, he needs
What's
more
your-
information. I need a smooth UI.
David's a homepage guy?
I think so.
David opens up, he's like, wonder what's on Yahoo. Got all my
Listen.
little alerts set up.
He used to get the maddest emails whenever his articles from Popular Mechanics would be aggregated into MSNBC Yahoo from just like old people who just read the Yahoo homepage
Amazing.
and have a lot of opinions about World War II and the minor errors he made about very dumb shit in World War II, like how big the biggest ship is.
Well, I mean, are we like the Musashi? I guess.
He wrote some article about a World War II ship that was lost and then found, and it was like an experimental ship that they didn't actually get to deploy because it got lost. And they was like, it was going to be the biggest ship ever. And I
people
think
were
that
like,
was the
no.
error. And they were like, no, actually.
Well, actually.
Well, yeah. Gamers and World War II nerds.
See,
The same.
timeanddate.com says today's holiday is the Assumption of Mary in the United States. But
That's a lot.
time.is has Left-Handers Day, which is a much better thing.
See, I like that a lot. I like that a lot better.
Also, it has this Kierkegaard quote.
Hold on. Weather.
Timeanddate.com doesn't have a
No.
Kierkegaard quote.
Local weather. Local weather. Okay. Ooh, timeanddate.com, though, does give me one click to a local forecast.
That is nice.
That's an argument in its favor. All right. But I'm on time.is.
Yeah.
Which
We're ready
has
to do
the
this.
second hand. So shall we go on 12?
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. And let's just get into it, shall we?
We shall.
Had that yet. We had like 96 for a little
Yeah.
while back in June. But that's like even for the AC in our house, that's like I have to look. I got to look the night before, and it's like, all right, when we're up at 6:30 with the kids, it's like set that baby down to like we normally have it at like 69, 70, and then it's like put that baby down to 67. It's gonna be a little wintry in the house right now, but because we're gonna watch that AC go gunk.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's gonna lose that fight eventually. God, you're just like trying to race to nighttime to when it maybe starts to get back the other way.
I want it to like eventually get to what the house is normally at for like the most important parts of the day, and then the sun goes down, and then we're okay.
Hello.
Yeah,
Sorry
we've
for
got
that. Austin, you sound odd. I don't know what it is.
1, 2, 3.
Sounds fine to me.
Check 1, 2, 3. My stuff's to the right. My stuff is right.
Oh, okay. Just sounded more compressed than usual. I don't know.
Let me make sure I don't have any bullshit on. Noise suppression is off. Just nothing else about my setup has changed.
Yeah, maybe it's just the internet. Then.
I know exactly what it is. I raised my input sensitivity, which means that you're getting like my audio is getting clipped, or I lowered my input sensitivity for some reason. Oh, because there was audio was bleeding through my headphones because it was set up wrong. Anyway, but my file is fine.
Please,
Okay,
please,
that's fine.
Patrick, lower your input sensitivity.
Yeah,
I'm ready whenever.
that's how it is.
all right.
Let's do 45.
It hitched right as we said it, but I think we're good.
Okay.